Welcome back to the tech booth here at Grace Church in Melbourne, Florida. Christmas came early this year. We've got all of our decorations up, of course, and then we have our Waves eMotion LV1 live mixing system. So I'm grateful, Waves, we got in touch somehow. I think it was Adam's idea, and Waves decided to lend us this system for about 6 months to try out here at Grace Church. This video is not sponsored. They sent us the system. Of course, I want to give it a try. So all the opinions about this are mine, and also Dylan's opinions as well. In this video, I'm going to give you the first impressions. We have used this system for 1 week. 1 Sunday, 1 Thursday night rehearsal. Now it is Tuesday of the following week, and I'll give you my impressions on what we think about this so far. First, let's talk about everything they actually sent us to get the system up and running. If you are new to the eMotion LV1 concept, it is a digital mixing solution, but not your ordinary digital mixing console. So it all happens in these computer servers down here. So this box right here that says Axis 1, this is the host computer. It's a PC. I know it's a PC, but it actually works pretty well. And it runs the eMotion software that actually does all the mixing and basically how you control all the plugins. Then right here we have the Extreme server. So this is the big boy that processes all of the audio and the plugins, and basically this is like the hub of the SoundGrid network. And then below it here we have a little stage box, the StageGrid 1000. This guy has 8 inputs and then I believe 4 outputs on the back, so it kind of provides some nice local I/O here in the tech booth. We have this input here being used for the talkback mic that you see here above the sound console, and I've got my noise gate, the OptiGate there, so it's very easy for me to just put my face in front of it and it turns on so the band can hear me talking. So we got this Array rack off of B&H, and I just installed this today to kind of clean it all up. The past week it was kind of a mess because I had all this gear just on the desktop up here. It looked a bit different, and let's actually talk about these screens, because these are the next piece of it. So we've got these touch screens. So this is the first touch screen. It's a planar touch screen, and I just want to show you guys, like, this is just a normal Windows computer, right? So if I minimize the window here, you can see the Windows 10 desktop. So I can go in here, and this is how I got my screen set up and do any basic configuration you would do on a computer. So this is the planar touchscreen. So what's great in the Waves ecosystem is I can go through here and I can select my plugins, and of course I can, select my EQ bands and start, dragging things up and down as you would usually be used to with a touchscreen. And then over here we have a second monitor. So it's really great to have all this screen real estate. So I'll talk more about my method of setting it up. This is the Dell touchscreen. And then here we have the MIDI Plus Fit, that's designed specifically to work well with the Waves LV1 system. And this motorized fader bank, as well as the knobs here, basically follows everything that happens in the software. If I move faders here, you're gonna see the faders move within the software, and then vice versa. If I move faders in the software, you're gonna see the motorized fader track it accordingly. The other thing that's important to understand about the Waves system is it all works on the SoundGrid network, meaning that these 2 servers down here and the stage box and our bigger stage box on stage are all connected on the same local area network, and ours is independent from our internet network. It's just one standalone network with one switch that I have in the rack here somewhere. I'll show you backstage. It's kind of a mess still because we haven't organized it, but the larger stage box we have up here. Here's the rack backstage, and you can see we have the StageGrid 4000. So it has 32 mono inputs and 16 outputs. These are all of our inputs coming from our stage floor pockets. We have a little patch bay right here. These come from the floor pockets, and then we can patch anything into where we want here on the stage box. So this is where all the preamps are. And then of course we have our return channels here. So all these outputs are for like our main left and right, our subwoofers, our fill speakers. These are going to our amplifiers that are mounted down here at the bottom of the rack. This is the M32 we previously had at front of house, because
it has a Waves card built into it. You can see right there. We actually opted to use this board now as our in-ear board. It's just going to live up here, and it has outputs that go to wireless in-ear transmitters and headphone amps. This is our dedicated ears board, so our in-ears are completely separate from what's done at front of house with the LV1. Keep in mind, we could have used the LV1 and this stage box as our ears rig, but we thought if we can have a completely independent solution, why not? We had the Waves card already. I was really excited to install this system because it also gave us an opportunity to kind of like clean out the old gear and then kind of rebuild our mix from the ground up, making sure we had the fundamentals right when it came to gain staging, especially. The way the system was set up before, there's just some strange things going on there. We ran into issues specifically with, again, the way that gain was being staged, and that was affecting the rest of the signal flow. So just resetting up the entire system, it really allowed us to build a phenomenal mix that I'm a huge fan of. So now you have a better understanding of the anatomy of this mixing solution. And in our space here, we have Danley PA speakers that you can see are mounted above our stage. We have a few small fill speakers you can see there, right where the black wall meets the white wall, a couple on the front of the stage. And then we've got some treatment in this room. I would like us to get more because it's just naturally a little too reverberant, too much energy bouncing around. But it works, especially when we have a full room, which this church has been plenty full on Sundays. It keeps growing very fast. It helps absorb all the sound, having all the bodies in the room. What you're looking at now is kind of my latest iteration of the workstation. Over the weekend, I actually had this screen, the Dell, up here above the planar touchscreen, but it just didn't feel right ergonomically. I like having my keyboard here if I need to type anything on this Axis One computer. And then I have my mouse right here, and we've got one of these mice with a little roll ball here that moves the cursor around. And then I like having this now just quickly next to my right hand, which is my dominant hand. I'm a righty, so it makes it easy for me to go from the mouse to the touch screen if I need to. So the way the software is set up is you have these different views. You've got Mixer 1, Mixer 2, Show, Patch, and Setup. And on the right side here, if I exit my custom layers, I can go ahead and I can go through the different banks of channels. We're just using channels 1 through 32 right now. They're actually sending us another stage box so we can add more channels into the console. Not that we really need them, but especially for like Christmas, we have some additional needs for more I/O. Then we have our group and our effect channels. We have some basically monitor buses, but again, we're not using those. Master mixes in our matrix, which I'll show you here in a few moments. And then we've got DCAs, right? So it's basically what you would expect navigating through any typical mixing console. And then we have this custom layers option here where I'm able to go in and then design the layers precisely how I want them. So I have one custom layer that we use for the majority of the service. I have my lead vocalist, the 4 of them here, vocal verb, vocal delay, vocal DCA for the group of vocals. And then we have our drum DCA, our guitar DCA, keys DCA, and then our speaking mic DCA. And then we have 3 speaking microphones for the pastors and MC or whoever's speaking. Then we have Pro Presenter audio, and then subwoofer main. So like this puts the majority of everything I need to like operate a service on this page right here. And the fit is going to be mirroring Mixer 1 in this setup. I could have the fit mirror Mixer 2 if I wanted as well. Right now it's mirroring Mixer 1. And then on this screen, I actually usually keep it on Mixer 2, which is going to be all my individual channels. So I usually have channels 1 through 16 up. That's usually when I want to make an adjustment to like an individual guitar or a piece of the drum set or my tracks or my keys. So I like having this up most of the time during the worship set. And then like I said here, the fit gives me access to that custom layer where I have my individual vocals, verb and effects, and then my DCAs and my handheld mics. So I am not often having to change any of the layers here between the fit and my touchscreen right here. I don't have to jump around a lot. Maybe I'll jump to the second layer here for my vocal channels if I want to quickly access a plugin or something like that. But this ergonomically, workflow-wise, I've really enjoyed so far. This window here becomes my channel window. So now if I select a channel here,
it's automatically gonna pull up that channel strip here on this monitor. So here is my bass guitar channel, here is my electric guitar 2 channel, keys, tracks, etc. right? So with my right hand, I can just select the channel I want, and then here I can dig into the plugin chain on that particular channel. So the way I set up our mix here is I have all of my individual channels pretty much are going to some sort of bus. We've got a drum bus. I have a drum smash bus. I'm not using that right now. I could add it later if I felt like I needed more punch on the drums, but it's kind of unnecessary right now. I've got my band bus, so all of my guitars, keys, tracks, vocals all go through here. And my way of using buses is it's just another layer to add some like light compression, kind of bus compression to kind of glue those different groups of channels together before they're sent to the main mix or to our matrix mix. And the benefit of having these things bus together is that for our broadcast matrix mix, I can kind of determine how much of each of these buses I want to go to my broadcast mix. Then we have the speaker bus. I actually don't really have any processing on that right now. And then we have our reverb buses, a couple of those, drum verb, delay for vocals. And then I've got some other effects buses I'm not using right now. So monitors, like I said, we're not using that yet because we have our M32 for monitors. And then here is my main master buses. So we've got main left, right. We've got subwoofer, mono, Q, and talkback. I'm actually not even using this talkback one at all. My talkback mic right now is going into channel 33 or something like that. Yeah, right here. And then that's getting routed to the M32 on stage so that they can hear me in their ears. So back to the masters. The other cool thing I want to show you was how we are actually mixing our broadcast mix right now. I'm going to link the live stream down below this video so you can hear it for yourself. So this is our broadcast mix. I'll pull up our plugin chain here, and these are the channel settings. So we've got a little bit of EQ on here, and this cut on the bass here. It's kind of a long story. Probably won't be there next week, but just take my word for it. I had to bring down some of the intensity of the bass for our live stream. Maybe you'll hear it when you listen to it. And then we've got this mastering chain on here, and then we've got the limiter, so our live stream is nice and loud. So what I love about this setup here with the matrix mix is I can come back to my buses and say how much I want of each bus going to the matrix. So if I put headphones on and I listen to our live stream, I'm like, oh, we need more of our crowd mics, or we need more or less a pro presenter or vocals or band or whatever. This is where I can balance everything else. For the most part, our matrix mix is just post fader of whatever is going to be happening on a channel level. So if a certain lead vocalist is singing lead on a song, like that's what's going to be heard in the broadcast mix as well. You guys know I'm a huge fan of having a separate broadcast mix setup, and some of the reason why we recommend doing that, especially with a DAW, is because you want to be able to have some of the nice plugins to be able to, on your vocals use, Waves Real Tune or Auto Tune. Also on the drums, you can have drum replacement and things like that. And again, a lot of churches too have issues where, the way their PA is in the room, you can mix it to sound good in the room, it's not going to sound good online. Fortunately, the stars have aligned, especially because now we have this powerful mixing solution where we can use all the same tuning here on the LV1 to be applied to the broadcast mix. My drum set, I'm very pleased with, the processing of it. I think it sounds pretty dang good, the kick and the snare especially, with no replacement. And we're not doing anything crazy. You just got a gate, we got EQ, we've got smack attack, and then we've got a compressor like on the snare top. And of course, the thing about our drums is we have kick in, kick out, snare top, snare bottom. I think it's impossible to get a kick and snare to sound good if you do not have your in, out, top, bottom microphones on them, because you're just not getting the full tone of the snare. We also got a really nice snare drum. What was the snare drum we got again?
It's the Gretsch USA Brass.
Yeah, so it's just a really nice kit. The kit is, we got it a few months ago. Maybe we'll do a more in-depth walkthrough of it, but everything you're gonna hear on the broadcast link that I'll put below, there's no replacement. Like, that's the kit, and then also the mix you're hearing is basically what we were mixing in the room with some of those adjustments that I showed you for the broadcast matrix. I was really impressed overall with how intuitive this mixing setup is, because it just felt the way it should have. You know, I'm very familiar with DAWs, I'm very familiar with mixing consoles and all the lingo. It was pretty easy for me to catch on to the logic behind the system and how they've labeled things and just kind of the workflow of it all. I really liked how for my broadcast mix, I was like, hey, I need to figure out, you know, how to apply some delay on our audio output so that I can align it properly with our video. So on the channel level for my matrix, I was able to go to open my output list for this matrix. And then here I was able to select, you know, this is the output it's going to the little stage box in the tech booth. That then goes to the video switcher, and then I can go ahead and say how many samples I need to delay it. So just things like that are just very intuitive. You know, on channel level, you got your inputs, what's being put into this matrix. You can see the list of things going into the matrix here, and then it's going to get its own fader. And then over here are my outputs, so I could easily, you know, add in a new outputs and route this anywhere it needs to go. So that was very intuitive. I was already very familiar with the kind of the way that Waves plugins work, because I've used them in a DAW, I've used them in the super rack that we had with the M32 previously. And overall, I just loved this mixing experience. And again, I'm not like doing a ton of plugin tweaking during the middle of a service. For the most part, I'm just kind of riding faders here on the fit, you know, tweaking some individual instruments here as I think it needs it. If like there's a guitar solo or something like that. It's really not that complicated of a mix process. And it was also pretty easy for our volunteer CJ to hop in on second service and take over. It even felt very intuitive for him there. The other cool thing too is this nice tempo button. So when we're tapping out the tempo of our delays, I can just tap on that tempo right there, and that determines the tempo of the H delay that we're using for our vocal delay effect. So over here, I have a virtual sound check machine pulled up here using Logic Pro. So this is what it's gonna look like as you're mixing. And again, you guys can listen to the mix by just going to the live stream. Just keep in mind, CJ was mixing that one, not me. So there's things I would have done a little bit different. For the most part, he did a pretty good job. So you've got, you know, all the audio coming in here into the channels, right? And then we've got the buses and effects, and then we've got our master channels right here. So overall, my first impressions of this system are very, very positive. After using this for one Sunday, I'm like, I'd be okay not really touching any other mixing consoles from here on out. I still love consoles like the Behringer Wing and the Allen Heath SQ5. This is kind of the next level up, because this entire system we have here, we're probably looking at anywhere from what, 15 to 20 grand or something like that. To me, this is kind of more of a competing option with something like maybe an Avantis by Allen Heath. And again, it depends on how many stage boxes you're getting and the IO and the plugins and all that. Like, to me, if you're going beyond like the Behringer Wing or SQ5 level, this is something that you probably would want to consider looking into. And again, this is not my final opinion on this, because I've got a lot more time I got to spend on this mixing console over the next 6 months, but I'm gonna keep you guys up to date because I'm gonna make more videos, and this console really lends itself well for me to be able to show you guys a lot of stuff about the way I mix and what we're doing here with our workflows here at Grace Church. So I'm excited to make more videos. Let me know what specific videos you'd like to see on this setup. And then pulling off our first Sunday with this console went smoothly, and I felt like it sounded great. I guess I'm kind of biased because I'm the one who set the mix up. But Dylan, you said we got a decent amount of good feedback from people this week too, right?
We had more good feedback about this Sunday
than usual.
Any other Sunday.
Oh,
Really.
yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I think a lot of it's like, now we have the fundamentals really established right with our mix of just like good source tone, good gain, and that's what sets you up for success for the rest of your mix, getting that stuff right in the first place. Even like we took the time with our wireless mics to make sure the gain from the transmitter to the receiver was good. It wasn't clipping or it wasn't too low. So there's a lot of important steps you can cover when you do a whole system overhaul. And then the only thing that I kind of had issues with was today I was getting my virtual sound check machine up and running, and the Waves SoundGrid network was not liking my MacBook Pro 16-inch with an M1 chip. It's working fine here with this older Intel Mac, and I know Waves just came out with an update for their stuff to work with the Apple Silicon, but to me, I was having some issues. I talked to their support. It could be a dongle issue, even though this dongle is working fine on the older Intel computer. So that's really the only kind of headache I've run into this system, is why doesn't my normal personal laptop just plug and play? Basically, the audio is working, but it was all like glitching and just clipping and just creating that kind of that weird network issue. When I plugged the same cable and same dongle into an older computer, and it worked fine. So I got to figure that one out. All right, guys, that's all I have for you in this video today. I probably forgot something, but make sure you like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos on this system. Check out the Worship Ministry Toolkit down below. And then if you would like my team's personal help in building a system and improving things at your worship ministry, then check out worshipministryschool.com. We'll see you next time.